Good morning, God. You are ushering in another day, untouched and freshly new. So here I come to ask you, God, if you'll renew me too. Forgive the many errors that I have made yesterday. Let me try again, dear God, to walk closer in thy way. But Father, I am well aware I can't make it on my own. So take my hand and hold it tight, for I can't walk alone. Amen.
Amen.
Call her Miss Gerri, Auntie Gerri, or Granny. It's what the kids do.
I can't even tell you who the first kid came here and got a freeze pop, but it spread it like wildfire. Then I get a knock at the door, it'll be about 6 more kids. I have had so many children here. I like those manners, Mia.
From her lived-in Park Ridge apartment in Southeast Ferguson, Ms. Gerri's held so many hands tight. Sticky little ones with nowhere else to hear a story or get a snack. Grown ones, tired from reaching out and grasping at nothing.
You know, even though they've moved away and they've moved to other states, you know, they come back and see me. That makes me feel good. Yeah. That makes me feel really good. You know, I can't solve people's problems, but I can sure give you some love.
But it's from here, in August 2014, she watched the community she did her part to build up burn.
I felt like we were caged in like animals. The police at the end of the street with shields, guns, and dogs. That was a nightmare. That was a real nightmare. Ferguson is a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. But we've been scarred. And how do you come back from that?
This is the place where they're trying to answer that.
So do you believe that it's a necessary first step to admit you have a problem?
Oh, absolutely. And I think in many ways we have done that. And there have been some things that have changed. But quite frankly, we have to stay the course and we have to continue doing that work.
This is the woman who's trying to steer that work forward.
So I truly believe deep in my heart that part of the process of healing is addressing the problem. And my biggest resource, believe it or not, is the community.
And these are the reasons the efforts to rebuild the community are complicated.
They not heard the community in the way that they are crying out. Meaning that some people just gonna do what they want to do, regardless of how the community feel.
They may think that things have been fixed in Ferguson, and that's far from the case.
I don't know Mike Brown, but I feel like I'm being caught in the middle of something that I don't know.
Ferguson put us on a national and international map and exposed our problems to the country and then to the world. So now that we were exposed for that, the question has to be, what are we going to do to fix it?
These are the Ferguson Effects. St. Louis County, Missouri. Separate from St. Louis City, it does include Ferguson, about a dozen miles northwest, and Southeast Ferguson, the neighborhood where Michael Brown lived. Now it's home to the Ferguson Empowerment Center. Co-owned by the Urban League and the Salvation Army, they host community workshops, classes, programs like Save Our Sons, which helps young black men get jobs. Now, it looks a lot different than it did then.
Watching this burn down on television was literally like watching a documentary of what had taken place in the 60s, but it was happening in real time here in St. Louis. This was ground zero of the Ferguson movement. So you had people from all over St. Louis, the state, the country, and in some cases the world to come here as the basis of where they were trying to organize and where they were trying to meet. So it was important for us to take this tragic location and turn it into a triumphant one, because this was the first building that was actually burned down during the Ferguson crisis.
Mike McMillan is the president of the Urban League.
Well, as a lifelong St. Louisan and as a resident of the Show Me State, I knew that people wanted to see some action happen right away, and they wanted to see something positive come out of this. We have made a difference with this building. We have the Boys and Girls Club coming in October, but there are many, many more buildings and many, many more opportunities for individuals, companies, government organizations, and institutions to play a role in rebuilding Ferguson and North County.
Do you think that enough attention had been paid to this particular community before Mike Brown?
I think that, quite frankly, the entire region and nation got an enormous lesson in what really happens in inner ring suburbs in terms of poverty, resources, and the capacity of not-for-profits to play a role. And there needs to be something done to provide resources for them. And the question really becomes, of course, as we look at 5 years later, what all have we done? And then what all do we need to do?
A few blocks away is the Canfield apartment complex. Mike Brown died just outside. Inside, a third-floor unit, the Southeast Ferguson Community Association, and Latasha Brown. No relation to Mike, but a deep connection to this community her whole life.
Regardless if we had the truth or what happened or how it happened, it was just the people felt like it was time to react. The resources that are really valuable to a community Southeast Ferguson do not have.
Latasha reacted by helping create the Community Association. The Ferguson Commission called for action on issues like housing, employment, and transportation. She's taking action from a ground level.
Sometimes you gotta ask, why did this community burn down the resources that they had? What provoked that issue? I don't believe that the snowball effect just happened because something, how can I put this, by being respectable. Mike Brown was just the tipping point. I believe that it was a whole bunch in between, before Mike Brown, that happened that caused the riot. The question should be, why was it that those people felt the need, the only way that they can be heard is by burning their own resources down?
And what is the answer to that question?
The answer to that is something that I can't answer on my own. It takes a community to answer that.
Do you think Southeast Ferguson is a community that would support those resources if they were here?
I truly believe if those resources were here, Southeast Ferguson would be a much better place. People would have somewhere closer to home to go look for resources. So imagine just not having the transportation to make it to the south side or to make it to the city to get the resources where some of the resources that we need are offered. Some people don't have $3 to get on a bus to make it to Lawrence Hospital. So at the same time, if they here in your backyard, I just truly believe people respect them and they'll use them. They'll utilize them to the fullest because they are actually here. After Mike Brown, only thing that we really had was, to be honest with you, was people, I'm gonna say outside sources. People who came into the community to try to fix the problem. But, you know, sometimes they find some type of blockage and can't fix the problem.
Decisions on how to help can be the hardest to make. They know it has to be done, but can't agree on how to do it.
There will be some people that will support what you do, some people that will be indifferent, and some people that may think that something else should have been done. So I think that the focus on making sure that the region stays the course as we look at this situation 5 years later is one that we have to push. Now, in terms of opinions and everyone having the ability to, quite frankly, give a positive, a mediocre, or a negative assessment on individuals who have actually decided to try to take it upon themselves to be of change, that is part of our democratic society, and that will always be a part of the value system of the country.
Ms. Gerri's values are personal.
Tell me the letters on there. Could have been my child. It was me. I was homeless at one time. So I understand what it feels like not to have something to eat or a decent place to lay your head. I understand.
That's more than most people would do.
What I'm talking about. There's no way in the world today you should go without education. They have all types of resources out here for you to get. But you have to get up off of your behind to go and get these resources. Lazy. We have a bunch of lazy people.
How do you get people to actually take advantage of the opportunities and the resources?
I wish I knew. I wish I knew, because they're out there. Because from what I can see, whatever resource you need is here. It's here.
But somebody could argue, well, people are having to take their kids to you instead of having a better place in the community to bring them.
But there are places. There are places. Our community center has things up there for the children. You know, we have Urban League. They have things for the children. It's just a matter of getting out and seeing what's available in the community.
Our goal is to one day work ourselves out of existence. Unfortunately, we are a very long way from that, but providing resources is something that we have always done, and the key is, how do you do it on a scale that really impacts the community and moves the needle in a very serious way?
There's a lot of heavy lifting to be done.
I would ask the rest of the world to allow the Southeast Ferguson community to create their own narrative. Meaning that, yes, a tragedy did happen here, but we still love our home and we think that it's a valuable place to stay. And yes, we do fight for it. I want to change the meaning of the Ferguson Effect, because it was a lot of beautiful people within the community who, in all actuality, tried to make positive change.
With small hands in hers, Ms. Gerri's calling on a different kind of resource. Faith.
We getting up now. We dusting ourselves off now. Here we come. We on our way. I am so proud to be a part of that.